I want to find the cure for hair loss. That is my mission in this world. And I would have to turn up to the restaurant 10 minutes early to make sure that I wasn't sitting under a direct light. I couldn't get into the pool because I was wearing a hat.
You lost yourself. You lost who you truly are.
Everything was ingrained in me from an early age that it was not okay to be this person. I knew that I was going to have to be honest with everyone around me.
To be at rock bottom to now where you are, I fully see you.
She said, why are you worrying about TV? You're sat on a multi-million-pound business that's in your cupboard ready to launch. And it was from that moment, I didn't realize before that I was losing my hair.
I am so excited and honored to introduce who I have sitting next to me, Jamie Shepherd. He is the founder of Hair Guru London, although it's going to be expanding globally, so be aware of that. Jamie is someone, when I first met him, he shared his story that he's going to share with you today. He is someone that represents courage. He is someone that represents perseverance. He is someone that represents deep levels of strength. Jamie suffered in silence for more than 10 plus years, all alone. And now he's helping the world, those that are suffering in silence, all because he had the courage to bet on himself. He had the courage to face deep levels of shame. He had the courage to finally stand up because he knew that he was here to do something massive, not only just for him, for his past self, but for so many other people that are struggling in silence. Jamie, welcome.
Thank you. That was an introduction.
I am so excited to have you. Can you share with the audience today, who you are, what you do, and a little bit about your story? Like, where did things begin?
Okay, so the business side of thing is a new element to my life. I launched my business about a year and a half ago now.
Okay.
And before that, I was a senior TV producer in television in the UK. I was running some of the biggest daytime TV shows like Loose Women, BBC Morning Live. I was the senior producer, so my job was to basically create the whole product. I was choosing the ideas. I was briefing the presenters. I was choosing which guests we'd get in. I was very much the brains of the operation, and I was putting it on TV. And the best way to describe my role, when you watch Gogglebox, people are there commenting on television. My job was to comment on television live and to give the presenters the guidance and to act like as if I was an audience member and to guide the presenters into a direction that was more entertaining and more factual or whatever. There are so many different examples. So I started my life doing that. I did that for 15 years in London. I moved down to London from Wales. I grew up in a very small town. Like it's a sleepy town. I was gay but couldn't come out because people weren't gay there. And I found it difficult to come into myself really. And I think it's from growing up and my hometown, everything was ingrained in me from an early age that it was not okay to be this person. And I had to feel, I had to break away from this cage that I'd set myself in. Even before the business became a thing, this is just a personal journey that I had to go on, and I had to leave Wales.
Yeah, I mean, talking about feeling like a cage and not feeling accepted for who you are, can you share what was the journey? Was there an initial point? Like, how did Hair Guru come about? Why did you create this company? But what was the initial point in your journey that put you on this path?
Well, in my early 20s, I started losing my hair. It was thinning out.
Wow.
I was so paranoid about losing my hair. I had thinning in the front, and I was trying to do everything to hide it.
How did you find out about your hair loss? Was there like a moment that you remember vividly?
Yeah, no, definitely. I was on a night out with my friend Charlie Girling. We were working in radio. It was Capital Radio at the time. Charlie Girling was our head of showbiz. And we had an evening out with the sort of team. We were all having a good night out. And she had one of those disposable cameras. And she took a picture and had them developed. And I'll show you the picture right now. But basically, this picture, she came to me with it and said, "Oh my gosh, look at it. You can see your scalp shining in it. You're losing your hair." And it was from that moment, I didn't realize before that I was losing my hair, but this one person had pointed something out that I didn't know existed. And from that moment,
your entire life changed.
Yeah, exactly.
Can you share, how did your life change?
So
just every aspect.
I then started to try and hide the hair loss. I was making really expensive and regular trips to the United States. My best friend Jessica, she's an actress on 90210, and she would invite me out to like be on set with her and go to New York. And New York was where I'd often go because they had the equivalent of Boots, which is like a pharmacy basically. They had their version of that, and what they sold there were these grey cover sticks, and the grey cover sticks were like an oily based like texture. And what I used to do is I used to go there and buy the whole supply, take them back to England with me and use them to colour in my scalp. And what I was doing in that situation was my scalp health was just getting worse. And from that moment, I started to explore different types of sort of hair loss products. And I came across hair fibres. And I used to use hair fibres. Obviously, it was a healthier way for my scalp. I didn't have to colour it in, and also the washing out process was just so difficult with the oil base. It took ages. It was really intense. Do you know what I mean?
I want to understand more about, the journey on understanding hair fibers and how Hair Guru, like you actually created it and formulated it. But what I'm very interested in, and I know some of the audience that are listening today have tried Hair Guru, have experienced the turmoil that you went through when you were 20, you found this out and your entire life changed. I want you to share, how did you feel? What was kind of your inner dialogue? What was going on, Because I think what is so inspiring about your story is that 1 minute your life was going great, you were going out to eat, you were doing things, and then it felt like overnight your entire life changed, where you would go to restaurants early and like make sure that no one could see, your hair that's losing and stuff. So I just really want to understand, how were you feeling? Like, walk us through. What did your day look like? What were the new inner thoughts from before and then after you saw that picture?
Okay, so after I saw that picture, complete paranoia took hold. Every single situation I put myself into, I would be paranoid about turning up, about thinking what people were saying, whether people were talking behind my back. It was a real scar on my life, and it took me to probably my lowest point. And in this situation, when you're losing your hair, it's a massive thing in society. It's also this lad culture that we live in, where people bully each other when they're losing their hair. And that's how I felt at that point. I felt like it was happening to me. It was finally happening to me. And I'd seen it happen to my dad. I'd seen it happen to my brother. They were losing their hair. And then suddenly, it was here for me. And from that moment on, everything changed. I became a shadow of my former self. I was a bubbly, bubbly person. I'd go out. I'd love, meeting people. I'd love to, just express myself. And I went from that to being a little bit quieter, worrying about everything. And I would live my life like that. I would go to restaurants 10 minutes before everyone else. So the booking would be at 6 o'clock. I'd get there at 10 to. I would make sure that I was not sitting under any fluorescent spotlights. And the reason why I was doing that was because I was wearing hair fibres at the time. So obviously I'd found a alternative to having thinning hair, and it helped me massively, but it gave me additional paranoia and additional insecurities, and I would have to turn up to the restaurant 10 minutes early to make sure that I wasn't sitting under a direct light. I would choose my seat, I would go and sit at that chair, and I did that for years. But it wasn't only in a restaurant environment it happened. It would happen on the beach. I would always wear a hat. I would go on holiday. I would always wear a hat by the pool. I couldn't get into the pool because I was wearing a hat. There was all these things. And then some people in my life also would try and steal the hat off me. And the hat for me was my comfort blanket.
It was your safety.
Yeah, it was my safety blanket. I had that on my head at all times. And then people started talking about the fact that I wore a hat all the time. So I had this other thing to deal with then. So then obviously when you're in this scenario and all this thing is just spiraling out of control and people are saying things, you then have to think outside the box. And I was using hair fibres and I loved them. And yes, they were amazing. And there are two of our competitor brands that I used for 10 years of my life. And I, at that point, knew that if I was feeling these insecurities by using their products, everyone else was going to be feeling the same. Because everyone's going out in the sun, everyone's going to restaurants. So if I had developed these insecurities that people could see the stuff in my hair, then other people would be too. And I think it also sort of tied in with a bit of an awakening in my life. I knew that my mission was to help people who were going through the same thing as I was. And during that time, when I was sat on that sofa with those insecurities, everywhere I turned, there was no one talking to me. Not a single person I could see around me talking to me about my problem. I was living alone.
In silence.
In silence.
For how long were you living in silence?
Probably about 10 years.
Oh
yeah.
my gosh.
And until I got the download, I had the awakening and realized that my mission on this earth was more than just working in television and this rat race, this 9 to 5, this, oh my God, I'm doing 2 shows a day. I was doing it like I was burning myself out.
Well, it's so remarkable and inspiring about your story because you suffered in silence for 10 plus years. You felt alone. You, like you mentioned, had the insecurity of hair loss, but then there was all these other added insecurities based on that. Your hat became your safety, and then people would try and take it. And it's so remarkable that you turned your pain into purpose, your pain into fuel, and it's so incredible. I want to dig into a little bit about the download, but it's so incredible that you got to a place of now no longer feeling maybe out of control, like you can't do anything, to, you know what, no, I actually do have power, I actually do have control, and I'm actually going to shift this for me and all the other people suffering in silence. And that is courageous. That is remarkable. Betting on yourself because you come from a very successful career, you had a great life. And I'm just curious, the audience watching this are people that, you know, going through maybe what you went through before. What are some things that you wish your past self knew? Can you share, like, you know, do you have any thoughts or any words, wisdom that you wish you knew that you now know?
Well, I mean, I now know because I created that for myself. I created the business and I created a product that helped me become a confident person who basically wasn't insecure in those environments. So in terms of the hair loss side of things, I sort of created that for myself. And if I was looking back at old me now and I could pass on a message to that person who was going through all those insecurities, I would just say, everything is going to be okay. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about your hair or what you're going through. You're the only person who gives a shit. When you realize that actually people aren't talking behind your backs and people aren't talking about your hair, they might make a comment here and there, but it's not in my mind, in my world, it's the biggest thing ever. But in their world, it might be just a passing comment and it moves on from that. So I think looking at that small Jamie, I would definitely tell him you need to like relax and you need to find your purpose, because I wasn't aligned with what I was doing. I had the awakening and I knew that I was in the wrong career. I would sit there in that TV studio and I would be producing some of the biggest shows that were watched by millions of people, and I'd be sitting there going, this doesn't make sense anymore. This no longer fills me with excitement. This no longer makes me happy. I'm sitting here just doing it for the sake of it, and I did that for so long, and I prolonged that story for too long.
Would you say that one of the toughest, challenging things that happened to you was hair loss at the time, right? You said you hit rock bottom. Now looking back, would you say it was one of the best things or blessings that could have happened to you?
Well, at the time, it was definitely one of the worst situations for me. Now, I want to help people. I want to help people not feel those lows, and I want to help people know that there is answers and that there is ways you can bring your confidence back, because the worst thing about the whole situation, when you lose your confidence, you lose everything. You lose your energy. You lose all the power that you have. You become a shell. Your meat body is just existing in this world, and you're not getting any fulfillment out of anything. You're not doing anything that you really like to do. You're not enjoying company. You're thinking about your problem. And that was where I was at. And I just knew that I had to turn things around for myself. And I knew I had to turn things around for other people in that same situation. And that's where the idea was born.
It's so remarkable and inspiring how you went from a place of feeling at your lowest, you know, feeling like you lost your confidence, you're a shell of a person. One moment you're like bubbly and outgoing, and then the next moment you're just, reserved. Like you lost yourself. You lost who you truly are. You lost your spark. And I'm curious how you found fuel again, because to be at rock bottom to now where you are, where you've helped over 10,000 people with your products, giving them their confidence and their life back. Was there an initial moment where you woke up and was like, okay, I can't be a slave to this anymore. Like I need to, help, or I need to be confident again. What happened?
Well, it was mostly down to a spiritual awakening that I had. And when I think back, it probably happened now maybe a year and a half ago. And that was the moment because I'd built this business, I had the idea, I had started developing everything. I had never run a business before in my life. I had no experience, but something gave me this inspiration to try it out. And something told me it's possible. Something told me you can do this and you need no help from anyone else.
Wow.
So I just sort of rode that wave for maybe about 3 years. I started developing my own products. I started to think about how I felt in those scenarios. I wanted to create a denser and a more undetectable version of the fibres that I had been using. And that was my mission. And if I didn't get those boxes ticked, I wasn't going to do it. So that was my mission from the outset. So I knew if I was comfortable with the product and if I was happy with what I was putting in my hair, then I would launch it. So I went on this journey then of talking to manufacturers, never had spoken to a manufacturer in my life. I was running TV shows. Like, a manufacturer is a scary prospect. Like, you have no idea of their language, first of all. They use things that you've never heard of in your life before.
Yeah.
But I just had a conversation, and from that conversation, they started giving back.
You figured things out.
Yeah, and they basically played ball with me. They started sending me materials. So I'd said to them, this is my mission. This is what I want to create. Here are the other types of fibres. I want to create something better. Are you on this journey with me? And they were like, absolutely. Right, here are 10 different materials in your colour. We're going to send them to your house. You try them out. I was like, perfect.
Wow.
So I started doing that. No, this wasn't the right material. No, this wasn't the right material. Every time I went through a different material, I would go into the scenarios where I had the insecurities in the restaurants, under the bright lights, into the sun, by the pool, and I would sit in those moments and see how I felt. I'd get my phone out, I would look at myself and think, no, this isn't the one.
Wow.
And then I would repeat that process.
How long did that process go from like you speaking to manufacturers to testing? Because what I am so inspired about your business, many, many things. You don't have business experience before this. You decided to connect with manufacturers, and you really created a tried and true product. You didn't rush to get to the marketplace. You didn't rush because what you were solving for was confidence and people feeling, secure in themselves. So I just love your dedication to not just yourself, but all the hundreds of people that you're helping, thousands, millions. And I'm curious how long the process took.
The process took about 4 years in total.
Wow.
3 years of that was developing the product and trying to find the right material. I went through all the different materials that my manufacturer was sending me.
Wow.
And then I found the material that I'm using now, which is cotton. And I was sitting on this business for 3 years, first of all. Everything was ready to go. I had my website ready to go. I had uploaded onto everything. I'd spoken to the laboratories. They had tested everything.
Wow.
It was all ready to go to market, and it was all sat in my storage cupboard at home. And then from those 3 years, I then had a year of working in television where I had stopped thinking about the business. I knew it was ready to go, but I didn't have the confidence to push myself across the line, because to do this thing, I knew I had to be honest. I had to also come out with hair loss to my friends. Like, I'd come out once in my life as a gay person.
I was going to say,
yeah.
I know you have mentioned that you had to come out twice, your second time. So your first time, can you share the journey or experience coming out, and then the second time?
Yeah.
Because that's really, it takes a lot of courage.
Yeah, so the first time I came out as gay, I was living in London, and that was a long process of sort of like trial and error, like trying things out and telling a few friends here and there and just seeing how they reacted to it, and like keeping this whole secret away from my family. And the difference from that to the hair loss, I had all of these insecurities and extra layers on top of it.
Yeah.
And if I had to compare both of them now, I think coming out with hair loss was much more difficult than coming out as a gay person. And I'll tell you why that is. Because hair loss, and my experience with hair loss, I was very good at hiding my hair loss. I wasn't leaving the house without anything in my hair. So my friends became used to me having a full head of hair. So nobody questioned what I was using, whether I had hair loss, anything like that. So I was living my life day to day with a full head of hair. And I would make sure that when I left in the morning, I had it in my hair. If someone was coming over, it would be in my hair. And I just repeated this on a daily basis. And that went on for years and years and years and years.
Well, it's so crazy that you share that you had to come out twice, because you said everyone knew you as someone with a full, head of hair, and you did this for years and years. And so I can only imagine how challenging it must have been to kind of release this one secret you had. Like, you had this one secret no one else knew, and I can't even imagine how much it was eating you alive.
Yeah, it was the worst part of my life, I think. And knowing that I had to push myself over this hurdle to get this business launched, I knew that I was going to have to be honest with everyone around me, and I needed to do that in a way that didn't sort of affect me mentally, because if there's one thing I didn't want people asking me questions. I didn't want people coming up to me going, "Oh, what's this business you've started? Why are you doing this? Oh, la la la." All these questions just like just filling my world. I didn't want that, so I needed to do it in one big bang. And I had a download and I had a vision in that moment of what I was going to do. I pictured myself walking into this studio in like a flowy suit, rustling my microphone, going, "Oh my gosh, I'm so nervous. What am I doing?" And then it being 2 stages. Day one, I would basically tease the audience on my social media. So this was just purely for my friends and family, because that was my worry. It wasn't to go viral at all, ever. It was only to tell everyone at once. And I'll just take you back a little bit actually to how I got to that point of actually pushing myself over the hurdle, because I think that's really interesting as well, because I'd gone through the year where I wasn't ready to do it. I wasn't ready to push myself over the line. And my friend Natalia, she's a reporter, a correspondent at the TV station that I was working at. And I was a freelancer when I was working in television, and she basically, I was moaning about that my shifts had gone down, I didn't have as much work, and we were walking down the street, and it's literally a street adjacent to where I used to live in London. And she said, why are you worrying about TV? She was like, "You're sat on a multi-million-pound business that's in your cupboard ready to launch." She said, "Why the hell are you not focusing on that? Why the hell are you sitting here wasting your time?" And she gave me a proper seeing to. She spoke to me like she meant it, and I felt everything she was saying.
Wow.
I went, wow, actually, I needed to hear that. So the next day, I phoned my cousin's boyfriend, he's an amazing videographer. He works with like Tesco and all the biggest brands in the UK, and he makes the most crisp, beautiful videos. And I've come from TV, so I know what good quality is. And I was like, I need him. I phoned him up and I said, "Listen, I need you tomorrow. I don't know where it's going to be. I don't know where we're going to go and what we're going to do. But can you just please like block out your diary for tomorrow? I will let you know what we're doing." So then I sat at home, started visualizing what I was going to do. Obviously, I'd had the download about how I was going to do it in 2 stages. And then I just started creating this world inside my world of what it was going to look like. And I found a studio, and I just pushed myself. We went to the studio the next day. We shot it.
Wow.
It was only Blake and I in the studio, and I knew exactly what I was going to do. And I just went for it, and I just recorded these 2 videos in 2 different outfits, and then we edited them. And then when it came to releasing them, it was the following day.
How did you feel? Were you nervous?
Of course.
Walk us through how you were feeling. What was in your mind?
So I was obviously I was shitting my pants, because I knew finally I was coming to a moment where this secret was going to be out there. And that was what really was like the main issue here. But not only that the secret was going to be out there, but I was going to have to then run this business. Like, that was another thing, do you know what I mean? And I was basically umming and ahhing about how I was going to do it, when I was going to post it. And my biggest concern was this strategy that I was going for was basically all about curiosity. I, in London, live a very sort of like fun life with fun people around me. There's celebrities. People look at my life and they go, oh my God, you're doing so well. And I'm like, it's just normal to me. Like these people that I'm hanging around with, this wealth, these people who are on the biggest TV shows or whatever, or films, that's just normal. And people were looking at that and they said to me, that they sort of expected me to go on a TV show. Anyway, people would expect me to do something. So my first video when I released it was me just sort of teasing, like, I've got something I need to tell you. Like, this has been on my mind for years. I really need to come clean with this. And it sort of like ended.
Wow.
So I released that video the following day after we shot it. And I knew that the strategy for this was going to cause like concern, and everyone within my circles were going to be questioning what the hell was going on, and I knew that was going to happen. And I basically had to phone my mum and I had to say to her, listen, I'm doing this tomorrow, you're probably going to get some like people contacting you, I don't know, but people will be in touch, I'm sure, because people will be curious and they will want to know what's happening. She was like, fine, I won't say a word to anyone. And I said, the key to this strategy working is that you remain silent. And I said this to two of my closest friends and to my mother, and they were the only people who knew. And I released the video, and I cannot describe to you the hysteria it caused. People were losing their minds. People were literally, like, as I said, people were messaging my mum, and people were contacting my family and my friends asking what was going on. People were in my comments writing, are you going on to Big Brother? Are you going on to Love Island? This thing had blown up amongst my circle and had sort of like rolled down this hill, and people were actually really interested. They were gripped.
Wow.
And the following day, I released my announcement video, which was me revealing that I was starting a new business, a new venture, selling hair fibres. And from that moment, I got so much support and so much love and felt so much like peace. Finally, the one thing that had been holding me back for so many years was out in the open, and I had nothing to hide anymore.
Wow.
I had nothing to hide. I was living in my alignment. I was happy.
That is so freeing. I'm so curious. That's amazing and incredible. And I'm so curious how you got to a place where you shaved your head and what that theme or journey or lesson represented for you. And then also the future of Hair Guru London. You started it, you've already impacted 10,000 people. So can you touch on those two things, please?
So people say to me, oh my God, it's crazy that you are an owner of a hair fiber company and you've shaved your hair off. Like, it's completely mad. But for me, hair fibers have been a big part of my journey, 15 years of my life.
Wow.
I can't change that. And I will always look back at hair fibers. I will probably grow my hair again, do you know what I mean? But for this moment now, I feel really at ease with having my hair shaved off. I obviously moved to Bali, and a big part of that move for me was to feel at ease and at peace with myself, and putting helmets on and stuff like that. I just wanted to just live in flow without any worries. And when you wear hair fibers, you have to like think about it. And this part of my life is all about just existing in a happy place.
Wow.
So yeah, I decided to shave my hair off, and honest to God, the pressure it took off me and what I feel now in my day-to-day life, I don't have to get ready, do you know what I mean?
Your story is so inspiring because it's almost like a whole 180 or 360 of having deep shame or deep fear of, losing hair, and now you are feeling so at ease. You love yourself, you accept yourself, you're not limited by anything, and I think that's so remarkable and inspiring and very courageous. And I'm curious, what does the future look like for Hair Guru London? I know you mentioned you've impacted 10,000 people already, maybe even more, but can you walk us through that, please?
Well, the idea to launch Hair Guru was basically a bigger picture for me. So obviously I had to start off with doing the fibers, and this is a small element of what I want to do. I want to find the cure for hair loss. That is my mission in this world. I will find the cure, and I will use this business to fund my ambition and to find the cure. I want to be able to send a press release out to the world's media saying we've discovered the cure of hair loss, and it will take hold in a week.
Wow.
Yeah, and I know there will be something out there. I know there's got to be something, because right now the only things that we have are things that take months and months and months. You have to apply it 2 times a day. It's so much. Keeping up with that routine is really difficult.
Yeah.
And I've tried it myself, and it's really difficult to keep doing it in the morning, keep doing it at night. So
Wow.
yeah, I'm going to use my business to find the cure.
Wow. That is so inspiring that you're dedicating yourself and your life, your mission to help the world on this. So many people suffer in silence, and it's so inspiring and courageous, your journey. I'm curious what you're going to say on your deathbed. When you get to the end of your life, what are you going to say?
Well, that's a really difficult one. What would I say on my deathbed? Have I told you this before?
No.
So long as I can say that I lived in happiness and peace and that I have helped people, like, I think I'll be happy. I'll be content.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing story, Jamie. I am so grateful. It's an honor and so much gratitude to know you. You have such a big light. You have such a big heart, and I am just so in awe of you and your story. Is there anything else that you want to share?
No, that's been wonderful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. How can people find you or contact you or purchase Hair Guru London?
So we sell on Amazon, on TikTok Shop, and on our website, hairgurulondon.com. And yeah, we will be maybe in a store near you soon.
Wow, I love that. Well, thank you so much. It was incredible having this conversation. So
Thanks.
proud of you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I fully see you.
I see you too.
Thank you.
Thank you.